You probably grew up hearing that. A dog bite means the dog is vicious, dangerous, or just plain bad. But what if everything you were told about why dogs attack strangers on the street is completely backwards? And the real answer has nothing to do with aggression at all. Stay with me until number one, because what you are about to learn will permanently change the way you see every dog you pass on the sidewalk. This topic matters more than most people realize because dog attacks on strangers are one of the most misunderstood events in the entire world of canine behavior. Millions of dogs are surrendered, euthanized, or labeled dangerous every single year based on a single incident that nobody took the time to decode. Most owners and most victims assume the attack was random or unprovoked, but the real reasons are layered in neuroscience, survival biology, and a deeply personal, emotional story that the dog has been trying to tell for a very long time. Number seven, the territorial alarm response. Most people assume a dog that charges or bites a stranger on the street is being protective of its owner in a heroic, loyal way. The reality is far more complicated and far less flattering. What you are actually witnessing is a nervous system that has been chronically understimulated and overconfined, producing a hair trigger threat response to anything unfamiliar. The dog is not being a hero. The dog is in a state of low-grade panic that has finally found an outlet. The clue to look for is a dog that patrols the edges of its yard or the full length of its leash repeatedly, scanning the environment with stiff posture and a high tail even when nothing threatening is present. This is a dog rehearsing alarm behavior daily, and it is only a matter of time before a stranger becomes the target. The practical solution is to deliberately expand the dog's world through structured exposure walks in new environments, allowing the nervous system to recalibrate its baseline threat threshold. The goal is not to suppress the alarm, but to widen the window of what the dog considers safe. Number six, the redirected frustration explosion. Owners often assume that a dog who bites a passing stranger must have been provoked by that specific person. Maybe they moved too fast or made eye contact. But in many street attack cases, the stranger is simply the nearest available target for frustration that has been building for hours, days, or even weeks. Neurologically, this is called redirected aggression, and it is one of the most dangerous and least recognized patterns in domestic dogs. The clue to look for is a dog that has been barking at windows, lunging at fences, or reacting intensely to other dogs on leash consistently before the incident occurs. The frustration has a long history, and the attack is simply the moment the pressure valve finally gave way. The practical solution is to identify and reduce the daily frustration triggers before they accumulate. This means managing window access, reducing on-leash reactivity through counter-conditioning, and giving the dog appropriate outlets for its arousal energy through scent work, structured play, and controlled exercise. Number five, the pain-triggered defensive strike. People almost universally assume that a dog who bites without warning is unpredictable or mentally unstable. What is far more likely, especially in older dogs or dogs with undiagnosed physical conditions, is that the dog is in chronic pain and the stranger inadvertently triggered a pain response through movement, sound, or even just proximity. Pain lowers the bite threshold dramatically, and a dog that has never bitten in its life can become a biting dog almost overnight when its body is hurting. The clue to look for is a dog that has recently become more reactive on walks, flinches when touched in certain areas, is slower to rise from rest, or has changed its gait in any subtle way. These are the body's distress signals being ignored. The practical solution is a full veterinary examination with specific attention to orthopedic and neurological health before any behavioral intervention is attempted. You cannot train your way out of a pain problem, and trying to do so is both ineffective and deeply unfair to the animal. Number four, the socialization debt crisis. Many owners believe their dog is simply not a people person. As if personality alone explains why a dog attacks a stranger. What the science actually shows is that dogs who were not adequately exposed to diverse human appearances, movements, and behaviors during the critical socialization window between 3 and 14 weeks of age carry a neurological debt that manifests as fear-based aggression in adulthood. The stranger on the street is not a threat. The stranger is simply someone the dog's brain never learned to categorize as safe. The clue to look for is a dog that reacts differently to specific types of people, such as men with beards, people in hats, children running, or individuals using mobility aids. The pattern of who triggers the dog reveals exactly what was missing during early development. The practical solution is a carefully managed desensitization program that reintroduces the dog to triggering human profiles at subthreshold distances, pairing each exposure with high-value rewards to build new neural associations over time. This is slow work, but it is profoundly effective when done with patience. Number 3, the leash barrier amplification effect. Most owners are genuinely shocked when their dog attacks someone on a leash. Because the same dog seems fine off leash in a yard or park, they assume the leash makes the dog feel protected and therefore bolder. The truth is the opposite. The leash creates what behaviorists call barrier frustration, combined with a perceived inability to flee, which activates the fight response in a dog that would otherwise choose distance. The leash is not making the dog brave. The leash is making the dog feel trapped. The clue to look for is a dog that is dramatically more reactive when on leash than off. Specifically lunging, snapping, or barking at people, it would simply sniff or ignore in an open environment. This contrast is the diagnostic signature of leash-induced barrier aggression. The practical solution is to teach the dog a reliable emergency U-turn and to practice increasing distance from triggers before the dog reaches threshold. The owner must become skilled at reading the dog's early stress signals so the leash never becomes the last line of defense in a high-pressure encounter. Number 2, the unresolved trauma imprint. Owners frequently describe a dog that attacked someone as having come out of nowhere with no history of aggression. What they rarely know or rarely share is that the dog has a trauma history involving humans that was never professionally addressed. Rescue dogs, dogs from neglectful environments, and dogs who experienced abuse during developmental periods carry deep neurological imprints that can lie dormant for years before a specific sensory trigger. A smell, a sound, a silhouette reactivates the original fear memory with full biological force. The clue to look for is a dog that freezes, trembles, or shows whale eye specifically around certain types of people before any aggression appears. Freeze is the trauma memory activating, and the bite is what happens when the dog concludes that freezing is no longer keeping it safe. The practical solution is trauma-informed behavioral rehabilitation with a certified professional, focusing on building genuine safety associations rather than simply suppressing the outward signs of fear. Suppressing fear without resolving it is one of the most common and most dangerous mistakes in dog training. Number 1, the broken trust architecture. This is the deepest wound a dog can carry. When the foundational bond between dog and human has been fractured through inconsistency, punishment, or betrayal, the dog no longer has a reliable internal map for safety. Every interaction becomes a threat calculation. The clue to look for is a dog that watches your hands before your eyes. The practical solution is rebuilding trust through radical predictability.